Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and today we're going to talk about the Majestic Prophonic Snare Drums. I've had this drum, it's a 6.5 by 14, for about maybe 10 years now. It's one of the earlier ones. I really like it. I may have shown it to you before when I've done some of my orchestral snare drum videos. This one I just got last week. It's the anniversary, 60th anniversary field drum. It's a beautiful drum. I think they're only making 60 of them, and this is number 7. So today we'll go through the drums. I'll show you the snare system, which I believe is one of the best. And, I'll play some things on the drums and talk about tuning them and the options that are available. So first we'll talk about this drum. This is a pretty common drum. The university where I teach owns one. And I own one, and several people I know own them. It's made of walnut, and it's a gorgeous drum. I'll turn it over here so you can see it. It's got reinforcement rings, and these are available in a number of sizes. So I'll tell you what they are right now. You can get this in the cast aluminum, 14 by 5. Get it in a beaded brass, 14 by 5. A thick maple, 14 by 5. Then a thick maple 14 by 6.5, then a walnut, which with these edge rings, 14 by 5, and then this drum, which is a 14 by 6.5 with the edge ring, and finally a 14 by 12, which is basically this drum here. So I consider this a field drum. If you turn the snares off, it's a tender drum, although tender drums tend to be bigger. But a field drum is normally anywhere from 16 by 16 inches to 14 by 12. Even 14 by 10, Pearl makes a nice one of those. So that's considered a field drum, a deep snare drum. So let's look at these snares here. I've changed some of these up since I've had them. But the great thing about these drums is that there's a lot of snare options that you have. Many. I took the liberty of printing this out. So I'll post this right now on the screen so you can see the options. I believe there's 11 of them. And I have extras here that I've purchased over the years. These are new. I got a deal on these. I believe they're made in Holland, so they're pretty pricey to get here. But so these are all the different ones. This one is 4-strand guitar string. This one is 6-strand stainless steel. This one is the blue cord, which I have on this drum. This one is 4-strand synthetic gut, which I have on this drum. And this is 6-strand nickel, which I have on this drum, on the field drum. And also I have some others I've taken off. We have the steel wire and the curly snares, which are very useful. These are extended, as you see there. And finally, you have this cable. I think this is phosphor bronze cable. So I changed the snares. It's very easy to change these. You just need a drum key. And it's easier even than the Pearl drum to do this. So the way that works, hopefully this overhead camera is going to do its job, but you just take a drum key and you unscrew that and plop another one in there and then unscrew that and do that. It's a great system. So these come stock with a certain setup. So for the regular snare setup, it's a 2-strand glass bead, which is these red beads. Then we have the 8-strand black cable, but I swapped that out for this blue cable, which I like better. And then we had the 6-strand nickel wound, and then the gut, which we have on here. Now on this one, it comes stock with these 8-strand uncoated cable, which I just told you about a minute ago. The black cable, which I swapped out from here. And then we have the wooden beads here. And then we have the same glass beads that were on this regular snare drum. Now the benefit to all that is that you can have 4 different sounds, but really 5 when you turn them on, and then combinations of those. So you can have them all on or any number of them on. Because that strainer, as you see here that I'm posting on the screen, has individual throw-offs. So the Pearl drum, the tri-strainer, does not have that. Although Pearl did make a drum, or does, with 3 separate strainers, but I just don't, that snare drum is kind of their budget orchestra drum. I have one, but I don't like it too much. But the Pearl drums are pretty much the industry standard. I think they sell more orchestra snare drums than anybody. But these are a close second. You know, you have the boutique drums like the Clevelander. I don't know if they're made anymore, but those were great. But that's just one strainer. And then there's others like you have the Black Swamp drum, which I have. I'll do a separate video on that. With that strainer, that's 5 different. But again, it's one throw-off. So having the 4 separate throw-offs, as you see here, is incredibly useful. And we'll turn this around so you can see. So each one just easily goes off. Now these are very fragile. I've actually had them damaged in shipping. So you've got to be very careful when you ship this or put it in a case. Make sure you put it in the case with the snares on. And I'll even wrap this up in a soft cloth, like a microfiber here, to make sure it doesn't get damaged. They are very fragile. So, but they go off very smoothly and they stay on and they don't pop off. So very well designed. My favorite snare drum strainer, pretty much. Now it can be finicky, so today we're going to spend some time. I'll show you how to tune this up and calibrate it. And as far as the tuning of the drums, I tune this drum here, as always, my 6.5 at 14-inch drums to anywhere from a G to an A. Today it's tuned sort of like an A flat, so maybe a G. And this drum here, I tune this to like F to F sharp is what I normally tune my 14-inch by 12-inch field drums. I'm going to do a separate video on all my field drums. I have a lot of them, some really nice old ones. So you'll see that soon, but that's the tuning I use. And then the bottom heads, I try to tune to the same pitch as the top heads. Now, when you turn those snares on, it raises the pitch just slightly, so don't worry about that too much. But that's the tuning. So we'll turn this around, and I'll show you how I calibrate these. So Majestic calibrates these at the factory, but of course you're going to need to learn how to do it. You're not going to send it back to the factory every time you want to do this. Oh, and before I forget, the stands I use are these Pearl heavy-duty snare drum stands. They're my favorite. They're rock solid. You could stretch them out, the basket, to carry a 16-inch field drum if you need to. And the sticks I'm using today are multiple ones. I'll be using different ones in a minute. But I started out with these black Wenge reverse tips that I make. And they're about 75 grams. So what you do, and we'll start with the field drum, is you start with the drum off, obviously, and it has adjustments here, fine tuners, for every single snare, and then a master tuner, which is so useful. So when you calibrate it, you want that master tuner to be somewhere in the middle of its range, so you have somewhere to go down or up. You're going to use that, all right? So first we'll do the first snare, and I'll take a look to make sure we know what they are. So this is the wire, and this is going to give you your basic snare sound on this drum. And I'm going to mute this so it doesn't ring like it's ringing. And by the way, I also have some muffling on these drums, so without the muffling, it can get pretty ringy. That might be fine for a hall, but not this small room, so we're going to muffle it a bit today. It's just a microfiber cloth. So once again, that's just the cable here. And what you want to do is you'll loosen it all the way up, so counterclockwise, till there's nothing. And then slowly, as you're hitting the drum, you'll raise that, going clockwise. Now this next step is very important. You're going for sensitivity. So test the drum right near the edge. And I'm playing over the snares here. On a field drum especially, you don't normally play in the center of the drum. It's very dead there. There's a node, basically. It's like a timpani head. So I play right off center normally. But when you're tuning it, I want you to play on the edge. And tune it up until you get just a nice, very sensitive snare sound. And there's no overring on the snares or anything like that. Then you turn that one off. And then you go to the next one. Now this one, these are the glass beads, just making sure. And we'll do the same thing, all the way down. So you don't want to choke the drum. You just go a little further and then back off. That's normally what I do. So these sound really cool. I like those glass beads. Very nice. And then we have the next one. I'll check this, make sure. So this is the black cable. And we'll back it off. And then go clockwise. That's my least favorite of the snares. I changed it on this drum, and I may change it on this drum. I'll probably put gut on this drum, but I just got it, so I'm still learning it. It tends to crap out when you play louder, like that, little distortion there. And if it's too tight, that's good for rudimental stuff, but if you're going to play closed rolls, it's tough. So those snares, the black ones, are a little finicky. And we'll turn that off. And finally, the wooden beads, which are very unique. And we'll start out off. So these you have to be really careful you don't over tighten. They're a little tight. So it's a very dry, distant sound. And then you can experiment with different pairs. There's a lot of different combinations, obviously. So here's the beads and the first cable. And then we'll add the other glass beads to that. And finally the other cable. Now, normally what happens when you do this, you find it may be a little tight. So that's when you use your fine tuner. And you can back that off a lot and then tune it up. And there you go. Now normally when I play field drum, I'll use a heavy stick with a big bead, like these acorn tip pecan. These are about 80 grams. So. so that gives you a bigger sound on that drum. So it's pretty simple once you know what to do. Now this drum is not a real big deal to tune, but you would do the same thing. So we'll start with this first snare here, and we loosen all this up, just like before, okay? Turn the snares off, but keep the main throw off on, and we'll put this first snare on. Now here on this drum, I'll play a little louder and a little bit more towards the center. All right, and then go to the next one. So there, what happened is it was too loose. So what you want to do is bring up the master controller, because I loosened it too much. So this is where it gets a little funny. So then we'll take our first one down. We'll start with that again. It's kind of like a balancing act here. And now we'll do the second one. And now the third one. And finally, the fourth one. And these are going to be those glass beads. Now, I can't get this high enough. So in that case, you have to go back, once again, loosen the master, and then back off each one of these one turn, and then bring this one up. And then bring the master back up. There you go. Okay, so once you get the feel for it, it goes very fast. And we'll go back to the top. That's a little tight now. And the second one. See, this is what it sounds like when it's too tight. It chokes out, so you loosen that. So normally I go just below where it's loose, and then I bring it up about a half turn. Like that. And this one feels real tight, so we'll loosen that. And there we go. All right? And then I'll check each one. So glass beads. Next. That's the gut, okay? Tighten that a little. So once you get it, they're pretty stable, but the weather does affect the heads, obviously. Now if it feels a little tight, which it does, I'll take the master down just a little bit. Now the other thing you might find is a little bit of residual snare ring. Hear it? I don't know if you can hear that. I hear it. It's just a little bit of distortion. Many orchestra snare drums have this problem. It's like that. So we have to track it down. The good news on this drum, it's easy to track down because you can check each strainer by itself. It's not that one. It's not that one. That one. I think it's this one. Yes. So we'll loosen it. Normally the problem there is it's too tight when that happens. Yeah, and it's the glass beads. There we go. It's gone. So these are great snare drums. The sky's the limit. If you like fooling around with things like I do, it's kind of like a little gizmo. It's kind of the dream drum. There's no end to the adjustments. Now the heads these come with are these Remo skin tone heads, which I really like. It's an improvement over the fiber skin. But I have used calf heads on this drum, not this drum, but I'm going to try it. And it sounds great. So a lot of times I will put a calf head on, but it's almost summer now, so not a good time for calf heads here in North Carolina. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll see these drums in some other videos that I will do in the future, especially the field drum video, this one. But I'll just play a little, and then we'll call it a day.